everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from November 22nd, 2024, and I'm recording this on May 22nd, 2025. As always, I'm giving you those dates so you know when this information is most relevant, because the market is always moving and changing, as we will see as we watch this video and look at these books. Also, as always, we're looking back at CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Town Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. Why do we do this every week? We've been doing it for over 6 years. Why? And the answer is really just try to understand what made books hot, why were people chasing them, what factors made people want comics in any given moment, any given week, and then how does the market affect them afterward? Should we be patient on these books? Should we jump in? And which books are ones we should be patient on versus ones that we know we need to get right now? This is going to be an interesting week. It is a very atypical week, maybe a first, honestly, since I've been doing this. But I will get into that as we go through the list. So let's get started and see what we can do, see what we can learn this week. Okay, sorry, something was screwed up. So 1 second, see what we can learn this week. So let's go. Here we go. First up, we got Forbidden Planet #1 from 1992. This is on the list for the second week in a row. Supposedly, Brian K. Vaughan was working on a reboot series. Is why this was hitting the list back then. The first week, it was like 5 to 30, 9.8 is around 100. By the second week, it was a $25 to $30 book. 9.8 was over 280. Now it's a 5 to 20, 9.8, 120 to 150. So down in a trap from that second week high. I think this is still supposedly coming, but yeah, we haven't got any more updates or anything like that. So yeah, this book is definitely fallen back and was worth waiting to get. Next, we got Tomb Raider Witchblade #1. Hitting the list because we got first appearance of Lara Croft. Basically, there were rumors of that we're getting a Lara Croft live action show at Amazon. I think it was Amazon. Let me look. But my notes don't say. I thought it was Amazon. But anyway, that was what was causing this first comic book appearance of Lara Croft to hit the list. Raw copies 15, 9.8, 180 back then, which were not that much different than where this book is kind of set. But there was a bunch of sales. Now it's a $15 to $45 book, 9.8, 200 on the most recent sale. So up and worth it to this stage. This is a book that I had that my copy was not quite as nice as I thought. But yeah, just a great Michael Turner cover here of the first appearance of Lara Croft. Next, we got Predator on the list again because we knew that 2 movies were coming now in 2025. We've gotten a trailer for the first of those movies. So yeah, that was why Predator was hitting the list back then. $60 raw, 9.8, just over 300. Now it's a $25 to $80 book. 9.8, 450 to 450 to 475 on most recent sales. But we did literally have the trailer drop in the last 2 weeks. So that has definitely moved this book again. The result is it is currently an up worth it, even though it had kind of been pretty steady over the last several months before we did get the trailer. Next, we have Venom #39, and we have the first kind of cover appearance of the all-new Venom. This was, of course, back when they were teasing that we were going to get an all-new Venom, that before we got all the reveals and everything we know now. But back then, it was a $15 book. Now it's still a $5 to $18 book, but most of the sales are 5 to 10, 9.8, 30 to 80. So I'm going to call this down and I'll be back, despite the fact that there was like 2 sales that were above the $15 mark, because the vast majority of them were under the $10 mark. So not a huge interest in this particular book at the moment. People were a little underwhelmed or just flat out angry with the decision of who they made the all-new Venom. Next, we have Scarlet Witch #6. This is the first appearance of Amarath, I believe. Basically, this is the Ivan Talavera 1 in 25 of her first full appearance, and this is the 1 in 25. She's on the cover, so that's what's going on here. $30 to $50 back then. There were 2 cameos before that, so take this first full appearance as you will. Now it's a $30 to $40 book, 9.8, 100. So steady, and I'll be back in the same range, slightly lower within that range than what it was before. Not sure if anything's really happening with this character or anything that's going on, but so far it hasn't fallen back too much. All right, let's get started. Jason's going to take his whooping. Here we go. It is Mark Spears Monsters, number 1 on the list again. Basically, it doubled. It was, 45 to 65. 9.9 hit 300 back then, and I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe people are paying this much for this book. Yeah, now it's a $150 to $265 book for a copy. 9.8, 3 to 400, more than a 9.9 back then. Yeah, this has been as big a whiff by me as any book that's happened in the 6 years that I've talked about on this list. When I've made the predictions back on Cash or Trash, we won't comment on Marcus's predictions for these books, but yeah, I've been wrong so far. This book continues to be straight cash, and the reason I was going to think, because there's a whole bunch of them to talk about. This was number 2 had come out this week, so the A cover of number 2 was 10 to 15. I was like, the odds of the number 2 sustaining that kind of value, even if number 1 does, not good. Yeah, 50 to 85, 125 to 150. Yeah, straight cash. Let's just keep going. Mark Spears Monsters number 2, the C cover, 15 to 25. Oh, it's a trap. There's no way. All these variants, everything's going to hold up. 40 to 85, 100 to 130 for 9.8, up in straight cash. And let's just keep, while I'm taking the beating, let's just go with it. Mark Spears Monsters number 2, the 1 in 25 homage to the McFarlane Batman cover, 70 to 100 back then. I thought, wow, that's a lot. 70 to 200 now, 9.8, only 2 recent sales, 225 and 365. But up in straight cash. If you notice now, these plus the Predator plus Tomb Raider book have all been up. Just a pattern to see this week. That is 6 books that went up this week. That's pretty surprising. Although 4 of them are basically for the same reason, because they're just Mark Spears Monsters. Next, G.I. Joe number 1. This was the Skybound Insiders promo variant. Supposedly it was limited to 200, and it was only given away at an event you had to be invited to. Right out the gate, this thing was selling on the secondary market as this homage to the poster from the G.I. Joe animated movie, $500 to $850 back then. No recent sales that I could find, only 1 listing I could find, and it was listed at 500. So we're going to call it down, and I'll be back, because it was listed at 500, has not sold. No other listings for this particular one that I could find, and like I said, no sales on this one. So no way to know for sure what it would take to get a sale, but obviously so few of these people that have them haven't really been trying to sell them, and the one that hasn't been able to get anything for it yet. So we'll see, because he's still wanting what it was going for back then. Next, Ultimate X-Men number 9, first Dakin in the Ultimate Universe. So basically, was he the Ultimate Wolverine? That was the question back then. So people were buying lots of copies of this thing, even though they were still basically going for cover price. It's still basically going for cover price plus shipping kind of thing on eBay. So we're going to call it steady and worth it. Don't know how people feel about the payoff of the Ultimate Universe and the Ultimate Wolverine. So far, none of these Ultimate books have held a ton of value, except for those Ultimate Spidey books. So, all right, we're going to keep moving. We got Uncanny X-Men number 274. This classic Jim Lee Rogue in the Savage Land cover. Making the list, $15 raw, 9.895, because we got the announcement that we were getting a Rogue Savage Land miniseries. That series has been coming out. I think we're on like issue 4, so we're almost probably to the end of that. And right now the book is $2 to $15, 9.870 to 80. So it's down, and I'll be back even with that series coming now. Yeah, there was no real reason to spec on this. I guess it just prompted people to go back and look for this cover. I think there's been a bunch of covers that people have chased, but none have really hit the list in terms of for this Rogue Savage Land little mini series that's going on. Next, we have Aliens versus Avengers number 1. This Jonathan Hickman crossover event has been very popular since it came out. At this point, this was hitting the list at that point because issue 2 had just come out. Mind you, 6 months ago, we still don't have issue 4. So this one has been a lot of delays, but still selling pretty well despite that. 15 to 20 back then. Now it's 5 to 17, 70 to 80 for 9.8. So definitely down, and I'll be back. Even though it was on the list again not that long ago, because I think we finally got timing on when issue 4 is supposed to be here. I think June. But yeah, it has been a slow burn to get these particular issues for sure. Next, we have Absolute Batman #1 hitting the list. This was making the list because basically everybody was jumping on this. Everybody was on Absolute Batman. We'd had it on the list previously. We've had the other two, had Wonder Woman and Superman on the list. Batman was back on the list, going for 20 to 25. 9.8 to 100 back then. Now it's a $25 to $40 book. So the raw copies actually have moved up. The 9.8 are basically the same price as they were back then, but overall, because the vast majority of the sales are on that raw side, and there's definitely more sales above the $25 mark than, I mean, everything's basically 25 and up, so those raw sales have definitely moved up. So we have another up book on the list. Yeah, another one. All right, we're going to keep moving. We also have DC All-In Special #1, the first appearance of the Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, and Absolute Superman. 10 to 15 back then, 9.895. Now it's a 10 to 20, 9.81 to 115. I went with steady worth it on this one. Could you have argued I should have said like up and worth it? Maybe, but even so, another book that was very steady. Had several of those as well. You will notice when we get to the end of this list. All right, we're going to keep moving. Next, we had New Gods hitting the list. New Gods #1, this Jack Kirby classic from 1971 hitting the list, because we got an announcement of a new God series coming with Rom V writing that's been coming out for a little while now. $30 to $100 for raw copies back then. 9.8, $1,500, a little over $1,500. Right now, 30 to 150 on raw copies, although most of the sales are under 100. It was just a really, really nice one that went for 150. 9.8, $1,430, so within about $100. So we're just going to call it steady and worth it again. Also, classic Kirby right here. And yeah, just a book that you get in, as Marcus would say, you get in where you fit in. So yeah, didn't really jump a lot in value, just had a big spike in sales with that announcement. Haven't heard much about whether or not people are enjoying that series. Don't know too many people that are reading it. Hopefully it's good. Next, we have Incredible Hulk #449, first appearance of the Thunderbolts. Obviously, this was hitting the list because back then, because the movie was coming. Now, is it a Thunderbolts movie? I don't know. But raw copies back then, 50, 9.8, 267. Now, raw copies, 40 to 110, 9.82 to 300. So we're also going to call this steady and worth it. I'd put this one as I'll be back, and I had my timing wrong. I thought we would be further past the movie when the 6 months came out. For some reason, I was thinking the movie was coming out a little earlier than it did. We're only a few weeks past it. It's been very popular, even if it doesn't really have anything to do with this book, other than the name Thunderbolts. All right, and then our last book of the week was Amazing Spider-Man #15, first appearance of Craven the Hunter. And we were closing in. We were just a couple weeks away from the movie coming out. And the reason it hit the list was we had the director go on social media and was begging for people to come and give it a chance. And it wasn't Morbius and Madam Web. And then people did actually go see it, and they're like, oh no, it's just as bad. But back then, 2.0 for 400, 9.0, 62.50. Now it's a $50 to $500 book raw. 2.0, 500, but only one recent sale. 8.5, I couldn't find a 9.0 sale. 8.5 was about half that 9.0 at $3,000 to $3,500. Overall, looking at some other grades, it's been pretty steady. The movie really hasn't affected the value of this Silver Age classic, which is no real surprise. I mean, people are still going to want this book. It's maybe taking a step back across a few grades, but overall, it's been pretty steady. So that is this week's list. Those are all our books this week. And I'm going to show you the, did I bring in the new look back recap? I did not. Oh no. So we're going to add something real quick. You guys are going to just have to hang out with me for just a second, because I forgot to add the look back recap here. Oh, it doesn't want to give it to me. That is no good. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to throw up here and let you guys see my members. Say a quick thank you to to my members as I try to get the correct recap up on here. All of them are helping keep this channel going, making this work. I appreciate all of them and any of the tiers. They are awesome. And so I appreciate my members. Here's the correct look back recap. And you can see more books were up, more books were steady than were down this week. 7 up, 6 steady, 5 down. That is as far as I can remember, a first, driven almost completely by those 4 Mark Spears Monsters books. But yes, this book this week was very odd compared to normal, but everybody loves those Mark Spears Monsters, and it gave us a result we don't often see. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time. Later.